Tonight, before you fall asleep, you might picture a different life. A bigger house, a better job, money that never runs out. Millions of people do this every single night, and many of them believe the picture itself has power, that the universe is listening. But the real answer is far stranger than a listening universe, because the picture in your head really can change your life, just not for the reason you have been told. In 2006, an Australian television producer named Rhonda Byrne released a documentary called The Secret. It was made on a tiny budget. It became a global phenomenon. The book that followed sold more than 30 million copies worldwide, translated into dozens of languages, stacked on bedside tables on every continent. Its central claim was simple. Your thoughts are magnetic. Think about wealth, and wealth is drawn towards you. Think about failure, and failure finds you. The film called this the law of attraction, and it claimed that the greatest minds in history had been quietly using it all along. Newton, Einstein, even the Buddha. Why did this idea spread so fast? Because it offered something almost nobody else was selling. Control. If your thoughts shape your reality, then nothing is random anymore. Your setbacks have a cause you can fix. Your dreams have a delivery date. For anyone whose life felt stuck, that message landed like rain on dry ground. And to make it sound less like magic and more like science, believers reached for the strangest field in all of physics, quantum mechanics. Here is the argument you will hear. Quantum particles behave in impossible ways. An electron can pass through a barrier it should never be able to cross. Physicists cannot fully explain why observation changes what particles do. Therefore, the argument goes, consciousness shapes reality, and your thoughts can attract objects and events. It sounds compelling. It is also a misunderstanding, and it is worth 30 seconds to see exactly where it breaks. The part about particles is true. Electrons really can slip through barriers, a phenomenon called quantum tunneling, which just means a particle has a small probability of appearing on the far side of a wall. It lacks the energy to climb. Your phone depends on it. The flash memory storing your photos works by pushing electrons through a thin insulating layer using exactly this effect. So yes, quantum mechanics is real, useful, and deeply weird, but it describes particles, not wishes. And when physicists say observation affects a quantum system, the word observer means a measuring device, a detector, a strip of metal and silicon. It does not mean a hopeful human mind. Nothing in quantum mechanics says a thought can pull a paycheck across a city. There is an even simpler problem. The law of attraction says like attracts like, but that is not how attraction works anywhere in physics. Magnets attract their opposites. Positive charge pulls negative charge. The one place the phrase sounds scientific is the one place it is backwards. So if the physics is wrong, the case is closed, right? The idea should have died. It did not die. And here is where the story gets genuinely strange. Because millions of people who tried it swear that it worked. They pictured the job and got the job. They imagined the partner and met the partner. They are not all lying. They are not all fooling themselves in a simple way. Something real is happening inside their skulls. It just is not magnetism. It is machinery, your machinery. Start with attention. Deep in your brainstem sits a network of neurons whose job is to filter reality before you ever see it. Your senses take in millions of signals every second. You can consciously handle a few dozen. Everything else gets thrown away, silently, before it reaches you. So which signals survive? The ones your brain has been told to care about. Decide that red cars matter to you, and suddenly red cars are everywhere. Learn a new word, and you hear it 3 times in the next week. In 2005, the linguist Arnold Zwicky gave this everyday glitch a name: the frequency illusion. The world did not change. Your filter did. Now imagine what happens when you spend 20 minutes every morning vividly picturing your goal. You are not sending a signal to the universe. You are programming your filter. You are telling that network in your brainstem, in the only language it understands, that opportunities related to this goal are now high priority. The job posting you would have scrolled past, you now notice. The stranger at the party who works in your dream field, you now approach. To you, it feels like the universe delivering. It is actually your own attention, finally pointed somewhere. A psychologist named Richard Wiseman spent years studying people who called themselves lucky and people who called themselves unlucky. In one famous experiment, he handed both groups a newspaper and asked them to count the photographs inside. Buried on page 2 was a message in giant letters, saying there was no need to count and telling them the answer. The self-described lucky people tended to spot it in seconds. The unlucky people tended to miss it completely because they were locked tight on the counting task. Same newspaper, same message. Different filters. Wiseman concluded that much of what we call luck is really a style of attention. Relaxed, open, expecting good things, and therefore able to see them. Expectation does not stop at attention. It leaks into behavior. In 1968, the psychologists Robert Rosenthal and Lenore Jacobson told teachers at an elementary school that certain students were about to intellectually bloom. The students had actually been picked at random. Months later, those randomly chosen children had made real, measurable gains. Why? Because the teachers, believing in them, had treated them differently. More warmth, more challenge, more patience. The expectation became behavior, and the behavior became results. Psychologists call this a self-fulfilling prophecy, and you run this loop on yourself constantly. Walk into an interview believing you belong there, and you sit straighter. Speak slower. Hold eye contact. The interviewer responds to that. You did not attract the outcome. You built it, one unconscious signal at a time. So the honest version of the law of attraction looks like this. Belief shapes attention. Attention shapes what you notice. What you notice shapes what you do. What you do shapes what happens to you. No cosmic magnetism required. Just a loop running quietly inside one ordinary human brain. Yours. But now comes the twist. Because if visualization programs your filter, then more visualization should always mean more success. And it does not. Sometimes it does the opposite. A psychologist at New York University named Gabriele Oettingen has spent decades testing what positive fantasies actually do to people. Her results are the most counterintuitive part of this entire story. Students who fantasize most vividly about acing an exam studied less and scored lower. Datas who daydream most about being slim lost less weight. Graduates who spent the most time imagining their dream careers sent out fewer applications, and 2 years later were earning less than their less dreamy classmates. In study after study, across health and love and money, the pattern held. The sweeter the fantasy, the weaker the follow-through. How can that be? Oettingen found a clue in the body itself. When people indulge in positive fantasies, their blood pressure measurably drops. They relax. Because on some level, your brain struggles to fully separate a vividly imagined reward from a real one. Picture the victory in enough detail, feel the pride and the relief, and part of your nervous system quietly concludes the work is done. It pays you a small advance of the satisfaction, and satisfaction is a terrible fuel. You have felt this yourself. Tell everyone about the novel you are going to write. Soak in their admiration, and notice how the urge to actually write it mysteriously fades. The dream, enjoyed too richly, can eat the doing. So is dreaming useless? No. Oettingen found a fix, and it is almost embarrassingly simple. Picture the goal, yes. Feel it fully. Then immediately, picture the obstacle, the specific thing inside you that stands in the way. The snooze button, the fear of the phone call, the Netflix menu at 9 at night. Then make a plan in the form of a sentence. If the obstacle shows up, then I will do this. In her experiments, this 1-2 move. Fantasy followed by friction. Reliably beat pure positive thinking. People exercised more, studied more, recovered faster, negotiated better. The dream sets the direction. The obstacle sets the plan. The plan does the attracting. And what about gratitude? The Secret calls it the most powerful practice of all. A kind of spell that draws good things towards you. Strip away the spell and something real remains. In 2003, the psychologists Robert Emmons and Michael McCullough ran a simple experiment. One group of people wrote down a few things they were grateful for each week. Another group wrote down hassles. Weeks later, the gratitude group reported feeling better about their lives, exercised more, and even slept better. Gratitude did not magnetize the universe. It retrained the filter, pointing attention at what is working instead of what is broken. And a person who feels that way is easier to be around, more generous, more open. Other people respond to that. From the inside, it feels exactly like attracting good fortune. Look at what has happened here. Every piece of the law of attraction that seemed to work does work. Just one layer down from where its believers think. Visualization works as attention programming, and only when it is chained to a plan. Expectation works by leaking into your posture and your choices. Gratitude works by rewiring what your brain bothers to show you. The Secret got the effects roughly right and the mechanism completely wrong. It pointed at the sky when it should have pointed at your skull. And maybe that is the part worth sitting with. Because the universe version of the story, for all its comfort, quietly takes something from you. If good things are attracted by thoughts, then people suffering through poverty, illness, or disaster are somehow thinking wrong. And that is a cruel thing to believe about the unlucky. The brain version gives the power back without the blame. Your thoughts do not command reality. They command you, your attention, your energy, your next small action. That is a smaller kingdom than the whole universe. It is also the only one that was ever truly yours to rule. Tonight, before you fall asleep, you might picture a different life. Go ahead. Picture it in full color. Then picture the one thing that will try to stop you tomorrow and decide right now what you will do when it does. Because the universe was never listening. You were. And it turns out you were the secret all along. And if you like this video, don't forget to give us a like and subscribe for more.